What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It is Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. We are your hosts. I'm Josh Helmer. He is Chris Meglio. So happy to be with all of you on this Monday night, smack dab in the middle of June, right here, Iowa, at the voice of college football. My man, Chris, good evening.
Evening, man. It's a nice day here in Iowa, man. It's like mid-70s. It's going to turn – actually, I lied. It's like beginning 80s. It was mid-70s, but – too hot up here, man. I can't imagine what it's like down there in Oklahoma. Can't
Turning
imagine.
into a scorcher, unfortunately.
No tornadoes, right? You still safe in the shelter?
We're safe, baby. Yeah, we are marked safe so far. Knock on wood. We got a couple more weeks to really get out of the busy storm season. But what's up, everybody? Welcome in. It is Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live, number 11 for us. And please do us a favor and like and subscribe to the channel. Share the channel. Let everybody know out there, Hawkeye fans, come hang out with us every Monday night right at 6 o'clock. And Thursday nights, our call-in show, though. This week, I think we're bumping it up one day. I get to call minor league baseball, some AAA baseball on Thursday night. So that, when I have the opportunity to get a paid broadcasting gig, sometimes that I got to accept the paid broadcasting gig, Chris. That's just the nature of this thing. So call-in show on Wednesday night. You're still good for that?
Still good, man. Congrats on that offer, man. That's huge. AAA, man.
A little AAA baseball. I got 4 ball games: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Round Rock Express versus the Oklahoma City Comets. So that'll be fun. But hey, you're not here to hear me talk about the Round Rock Express and the Oklahoma City Comets. You're here to talk Iowa athletics. And of course, the big news today, Iowa football has one less commit in its 2026 class. Cash Herrera announcing that he has decommitted from the Iowa Hawkeyes. And it sounds like if it was wandering eyes for Cash Herrera, if it was Iowa saying, hey, we'd like to kick the tires ourselves on some other quarterback options in the 2026 class, whatever it may be, if it was Cash Herrera's decision, if it was Iowa politely encouraging said decision for Cash Herrera, at this point, one thing we know is the recruitment. Cash Herrera has reopened it. Cash Herrera today, the longtime Iowa class of 2026 quarterback commit, has decommitted from the Hawkeyes. He had been committed all the way back to October with the Hawkeyes, but reopening the recruitment today, Chris. And I guess for me, I go back to some of the thoughts we've shared in recent weeks. I just don't know that in this day and age anymore that you get totally panicked about a high school recruit making a decision to kind of look around elsewhere. If this were a 5-star quarterback commit, and maybe even the high 4-star variety for Iowa, maybe we would be sitting here tonight a little bit more panicked about Cash Herrera opening up the recruitment. Wish him well. He had picked up offers from both Arizona and Cal in early May. There's been some reported interest out there from Indiana, from Curt Cignetti. So there's been maybe some writing on the wall from elsewhere that Cash Herrera had some other offers, had some other interest, and obviously today he has decided to explore those other options. But Chris, for me, I just am not going to get panicked over a high school player deciding to explore other options in a day and age where, to me, I think it might be a good option for Iowa anyways, to feel like, hey, we're in the business of trying to find a transfer portal quarterback just about every offseason as it currently exists. So wish Cash Herrera the best in his recruitment. I think one thing that is true in recruiting is you don't ever totally close the door. If you're the player, you don't close the door. If you're Tim Lester, if you're Kirk Ferentz, I don't think you totally close the door on Cash Herrera, but at least as it is today, Iowa is maybe in the business of trying to find another 2026 quarterback commit.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in the Hawkeye fan base is not really, taking this one hard. Not to disrespect Cash. Obviously he's a good talent, 3-star recruit. But how I look at it is, yes, it is tough when a player commits so early in high school as a early junior. I believe that's what his class was when he committed. He had just so much time in between when he committed to signing day and actually becoming committed Hawkeye, or seriously committed Hawkeye. Excuse me. So I saw some stuff about, he was getting offers from other universities still. So when that's coming in, I expect him to, start, kind of swaying his head a little bit, saying, did I commit too early? Do I still want to test the waters? But it's not something that is a make or break for our school. As you said, he's not a 5-star, respectfully. So it's not something where if you take it back 4 years ago, how we got Xavier Nwampa to commit to Iowa as I believe he was a 5-star, if not a highly ranked 4-star. If he's someone that decommits, he's going to be one of the better players at his position, guaranteed in college football, then that's something where you say, man, what are we going to look like after that? But this time around, it's fortunately not like that. I'm sure there's a case where maybe Cash is still considering Iowa. He just had to, he just wanted to explore the schools, but maybe he just wanted to be a little closer. I see the schools of interest that I saw are all kind of closer. They're all closer to California. They're all kind of in warmer weather. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it's always the risk that is there when, as I said, when someone commits so early and there's so much time in between. It's not like he committed mid of senior year. This was 2 years prior before he stepped on campus. So not too surprised, but any decommitment is a loss. It just depends on how big or small it is. And I believe with the way Iowa is, we will figure it out. As we alluded to last show, as you were really evident on, finding transfer quarterbacks is better than getting high school quarterbacks. So maybe this could be a blessing in disguise for Iowa, because you never know what that extra spot could be for someone else.
I just think the game, has maybe changed a little bit in that regard to where, look, I think Iowa and college football programs in general, Chris, you still want to have young quarterbacks in the program. You want to add a young quarterback probably in every recruiting cycle into your program and keep those guys around and develop them. And then they know the language of Tim Lester's offense. And it doesn't have to happen overnight, learning the linguistics of the offense, right? You develop into it. I still think there's a place in college football for that. And I think I would imagine that's the route that Iowa wants to go with plenty of its quarterbacks. But how realistic is that in college football anymore? I don't know that maybe that's the way that it's going to go moving forward in a world where you have to have results and you have to have them now, and guys get paid to play. So it's going to accelerate the development curve, at least from fans, right? You'll want results and you'll want them right here, right now. And so if that's the world that we're existing in, and that is the world that now we exist in with the revenue share era, I just don't know that it's the worst thing to every offseason kind of feel like, hey, here's a set amount of money and we're going to allocate that to a transfer portal quarterback. Because guess what? With the transfer portal quarterback, we've seen them play college football. Even if it's at South Dakota State, in the case of Mark Gronowski, we've got college tape that we can look at and evaluate and probably have a more reliable evaluation, Chris, on who this quarterback is going to be. And we're getting a more experienced quarterback out of the transfer portal. So, again, I'm just not going to get panicked over a high school kid choosing to go somewhere else in this day and age anymore.
Yeah, that's always a blessing of finding, transfer players, not even just quarterbacks in general, is that they've played at this level, and you can see what they've done on this level and whether they're worthy or whether they're worthy of investing in, whether they're worthy of, putting energy into. And that's what I was kind of notorious for, especially on the, especially on the more offensive end, and especially at the quarterback position. Because when's the last time we got a quarterback come in his freshman year, stay all 4 years, and develop into, a solid quarterback out of high school? It's been a while. So who knows? Did that play a part in Cash decommitting? We don't know. I'm sure we'll never know. He probably will never say his true reason, because there's always some, when there's a decommitment, there's always at least one reason to why they doubted the program and doubted that was the spot for them. But how I kind of see it is, when I first saw the news, first thing that came to my mind was this is better for Hank Brown, just because Mark Gronowski, we know we're going to get him for a year. He's going to leave in a year, whether that's just graduating and moving on to a different career or going to the NFL, which is probably the second one. He's probably going to try to go to the league, knowing he could have done it this offseason. But now we got Hank Brown, who's a redshirt freshman, I believe. Now he's going to come in, and now we're looking at him saying now this is a year where he just takes it in, learns the system, so he could take over for next year. There's no way to Cash Herrera. There's probably Kirk Ferentz would probably say, okay, Cash and Hank, you guys battle out for the one. Now it's okay. Well, Hank would have been probably the one if Mark Gronowski never came. Then Mark Gronowski came. Hank decided to stay. I hope Hank has it in his head that this could be his team next year, and now it's more likely knowing that Cash is going somewhere else. Jackson Stratton is still a great quarterback. I'm unsure of what year he's in, but I'm sure that now this guarantees Hank Brown, or this at least gives him a better chance to be the QB1 next year as a sophomore in the class next year. So that'll be good if we can keep him for 3 years, develop him with the system. You never know. Maybe he could be one of the better QBs we've had in recent memory. You don't know.
Yeah, as you now project this forward, and oh, by the way, Iowa, you're starting to hear some different names out there, that maybe there's a Ball State quarterback commit named Mason Atkins that could be in the mix for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I see a couple of folks, Kelvin in the chat. Iowa will flip the Aurora, Illinois quarterback. That's the player that Kelvin's referring to, is current Ball State commit Mason Atkins, who had about 1,900 total yards his last prep season. Let's see, 32 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, also ran for 7 more scores. So we'll see if it's Mason Atkins or another handful of names that you're starting to see trickle out or be reported upon out there. If it's the West Aurora, Ball State commit, Mason Atkins, or if Iowa says, you know what, now that Cash Herrera is out of the picture, maybe we don't like enough of these quarterbacks enough. Don't like any one of these 2026 quarterbacks that's left on the board enough to invest, a revenue share, a scholarship opportunity. I don't know how this is going to play out, but the bottom line is, as you project it forward, Chris, you do still, as you pointed out, you do still have young quarterbacks that can grow in this program for Iowa. Jackson Stratton, I would not qualify as a young quarterback, but he's a quarterback that's going to be back next year battling for the starting job. And I've sat here on multiple occasions and told you, I think Jackson Stratton has a real chance to be Iowa's starting quarterback in 2026. So that is on the table for you next season. Beyond that, the younger quarterbacks, you mentioned this name, Hank Brown, Jimmy Sullivan just came in this class. You added Jeremy Hecklinski, who had the Warren Ruggiero connection to the Hawkeyes. Ryan Fitzgerald is a quarterback that's with Iowa now. So again, I don't want to downplay the importance of what Cash Herrera could have meant to Iowa, or Chris, what he might mean to Cal or Arizona or UCLA. Was on that offer sheet. He picked Iowa over UCLA, picked Iowa over Minnesota and a handful of other programs. He could be a really good quarterback. Maybe it's at Indiana down the line, but if Cash Herrera is that quarterback, then so be it. He clearly had a wandering eye, and Iowa couldn't exist in a world where he might leave him at the altar at the end of this cycle. So maybe Tyler Barnes, your chief of staff, your general manager, Tim Lester, Kirk Ferentz, maybe they just kind of saw where this one was headed and said, you know what, it's best for both parties to go ahead and cut ties right here. If you want to take a couple of visits to Cal, to Arizona, to Indiana, to see what others have to offer, then, hey, by all means, take those visits. And, oh, by the way, we're going to shop around elsewhere too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's And from the list you just mentioned, it's very encouraging to see. Yes, although Cash did decommit, it's encouraging to see that we still have 4 to 5 young quarterbacks who are in their second year or after, or first or second year that are here with Iowa. That means that, we have 5 guys to give a chance to develop, to get used to the system, and excuse me, be with the Hawkeyes for 4 or 5 years. With that being said, everyone in college football that commits to play football wants to play. You can't play 5 quarterbacks at once. I don't expect all of them people to stay, but I think Hank Brown, has, as I said, the best chance to play out of the young pack. Maybe like Ryan Fitzgerald, he got NFL ties. He's a guy that can come in and really, surprise people. Jackson Stratton, you said, is not on the lower side, but the gist of it is it's tough to play 5 quarterbacks. So what are the chances all 5 of them stay? And including if you had Cash Herrera in there, maybe it was a situational thing. Maybe he's looking at the pack and saying, okay, well, maybe my chances are this. Or we talked about it in previous shows where Kirk Ferentz says it bluntly about what the role is going to be, and it's their choice whether they want to leave or not, or leave or stay. Maybe it's one of those things where he said, okay, Cash, you probably, we got Hank Brown, we believe in him, we want to invest in him. Maybe he told Cash he was going to be, on the bench for a couple of years, and Cash didn't want that. Maybe he wanted to go somewhere else where he knew he could get more playing time. Maybe it was a money thing. Maybe he could get more in NIL and be closer to home. Maybe weather, because Iowa weather is it's not for the weak, especially from Cali. It's not for the weak, man. So you never know. I guess as we said, we never know what the reason is, but it's still encouraging to see all these young quarterbacks look at Iowa as a place of destination, at least for the meantime, and possibly be that. Hopefully the next face Iowa football. That's what we hope. We don't, as nice it is to have Mark Gronowski for 1 year and, some other guys that have been, solid for the program. We want a guy that could be around for 3-4 years. We want a guy we could build upon and, build a fan base with. It's hard to build a fan base with one guy for 1 year, but to have a guy for 4 years, especially a talented guy with, the anticipation of a Hank Brown, that's someone you'd want to keep. So who knows what's going to happen with the quarterback room, but it's encouraging. Maybe Iowa's actually developing a reputation where quarterbacks want to come here.
And if Mark Gronowski has a great season, then who knows what door that opens in this coming off season for players from elsewhere that start looking around and saying, wait a second, maybe I need a change of scenery, or I'm at a lower level of college football at one of the group of 6, group of 5, group of 6 programs. And now I want to take that step up. And who is going to position me to best enhance my NFL draft stock? Who's going to, oh, by the way, provide me an opportunity to earn money? And maybe that place is Iowa. And maybe that's a more attractive option than it's been in recent years after a really solid season from Mark Gronowski. So, look, in closing, I wish Cash Herrera well. And I don't think you totally close the book if you're Iowa, if you're Cash. You never know how this recruitment is going to totally wind up. It's still a ways before that December early signing period. So maybe he looks around, sees a couple of different opportunities, and cycles back around and says, you know what? That opportunity at Iowa does sound pretty attractive. So, and I don't want to downplay that Cash Herrera is a good quarterback. He has been a top performer of late, top 5 performer at the Ohio Regional 11 in the spring, where you go out recruiting showcase. So he's been a riser. Obviously, in recent months, has picked up offers from Cal, from Arizona. Seems to have some interest out there from Indiana. So he's a good player. But guess what? If Cash Herrera, at least for the moment, doesn't see his future at Iowa, then I trust, Chris, that Iowa's going to be okay. I go back a month or a couple of months ago, and I guess it would have been the turn of the calendar year, December, January. And so that's more than a month, though. That's more than a couple of months ago. So, 6 months or so ago, and the entire quarterback room for Iowa it's all been reshaped. Tim Lester, Kirk Ferentz, they totally reshaped it. So again, not going to get totally worked up about a high school player that we haven't seen play college football. Make a decision to explore other options. I think Tim Lester, I think Kirk Ferentz, they've shown us we can retool, we can reconfigure which direction we're going in the quarterback room. And, oh, by the way, if Gronowski has a great 2025 season, then who knows what doors, Chris, that opens up.
All it takes is one player to have a spectacular season to show other quarterbacks that they could come to Iowa and be successful and be noticed and make it to the next level that everyone desires to be at, for this program to kind of turn that narrative around. And maybe Mark Gronowski could be that for us. Maybe he comes here. Think about how that is, too. This is a guy that got invited to the combine, NFL-bound quarterback, decided, okay, I want to go another year in college football. I'm not done playing yet. I still want to prove myself. And he decides that Iowa is the best place. Iowa, for a university, is not known for quarterbacks whatsoever. And if anything, if they are known for quarterbacks, it's not the positive side. For him, a quarterback of his pedigree to come to Iowa and say this is the place where I feel like I could be most successful at is very telling about, maybe people have it wrong about the way Iowa goes about quarterbacks. Maybe we've just gotten unlucky, but it says something about the culture, it says something about the coaching staff. And sometimes that does win in the end. Sometimes it's the intangibles, the stuff that is not so much about just pure football that wins people. So maybe, as you said, it's like think about it with women's basketball. It's like the Caitlin Clark effect. Obviously, we had Megan Gustafson and Monica Sonano, like some gifted basketball players, but now we are women's basketball top tier program now because of what Caitlin Clark did at Iowa and showing that, okay, you could come here and you could possibly win a national championship. And that's all it takes is one player. I think that could happen with Mark Gronowski. And as you said, the doors never close. Maybe Cash will come back. We've seen it before in other college sports with other college athletes. It could happen here. You never know, man.
The other item that Caitlin Clark showed, in addition to, yes, you can come in here and you can be a superstar and you can be the center of the really sports universe. Caitlin Clark is one of the she's one of the epicenters of sport now. NFL, college football, women's basketball, whatever you want to phrase it as, golf. She is one of the great superstars in sport right now, and that's possible to become that individual in Iowa City. So she proved that. She also showed you get paid. If you're that type of star, you can make a lot of money. It doesn't this world that we're living in now with social media and the exposure, if you're a star, it doesn't matter. If you're on this coast or that coast, you can make big money at Iowa if you're the right kind of talent. So as we look forward, how do we feel about the young quarterback situation for Iowa? Cash Herrera, if you're just joining us, welcome in. This is Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. I'm Josh. He's Chris. Iowa at the voice of college football. You could do us a big-time favor by liking and subscribing, sharing the video, telling people to come hang out with us on Monday nights at 6 o'clock, on typically Thursday nights for our call-in show at 6 o'clock, though this week it'll be on Wednesday. But Cash Herrera has decommitted from Iowa football. How do we feel about the quarterback situation not going into this next season? I think you're in really good shape with Mark Gronowski. I think he's got a chance to be one of the Big Ten's best and one of the country's best if everything goes according to plan. But the Iowa quarterbacks going into next season and beyond, Hank Brown, Jackson Stratton, Jimmy Sullivan, Jeremy Hecklinski, Ryan Fitzgerald, and to be determined if Iowa adds a quarterback now in this 2026 class all over again. How do we feel about it? Are they in a good place? Do they need another commit in this 2026 class, an eventual signee? What do you think?
I think it's in a very good place just because we have so many young quarterbacks, but more specifically, I mean, I say it over and over, and I guess we'll never know until 2026 rolls around, but it seems like we kind of already have a guy where we're saying, okay, well, he's probably going to be the guy next year, which is the most intriguing part with Hank Brown. It's very nice to know that, yes, we have this great quarterback who could possibly be the best quarterback in the Big Ten and one of the better quarterbacks in the country. We know he's going to leave next year, but we know we have this guy who's going to step up and could possibly replicate to a certain degree what Mark Gronowski could do, or just a very competitive Big Ten quarterback. Maybe Hank Brown is someone that could turn himself into a NFL bound quarterback. You never know, but it's and I'm sure, as I just alluded to, everyone wants to play. There's only one quarterback that could play at one time. Some of these quarterbacks I expect to transfer out and test a market somewhere else. But just assuming that only Hank Brown will stay, it's in a good place. And I think that when you got other quarterbacks too, like Jackson Stratton, he's there. He's going to, in the case where if Hank Brown can't play, I expect him to come in and, be a good backup the way he was last year, because he did pretty good last year in the games he came in and had to fill in. But then you got the guys of Jimmy Sullivan. We haven't seen too much of him. Jeremy Heklinski, we haven't seen him at all, and I don't think he played at Wake Forest last year. I don't believe so. If anything, it was very small. And then Ryan Fitzgerald is someone intriguing just because he has NFL ties. You have someone that can give you, as pro athletes call it to their kids, the blueprint to succeed. And maybe he's someone, as I said, that can come in, and because he has those ties, he has certain things that other kids probably don't. So he can come in and probably produce at a higher level than most would right out the gate. And that's not to include any other quarterbacks that could be looking at us, whether it's class of 26 or 27 or even 28 if they're looking that far ahead. We're in a good spot. I don't think there's no need to panic at all whatsoever. And I think what we should do is definitely just focus on this upcoming season and just take Mark Gronowski. Let's not take him for granted, because he's a stud of a quarterback. It's a blessing that he came here, but the future is bright no matter what, whether it's next year or a year beyond.
We also haven't seen Iowa bring a freshman quarterback in and the next season or 2 years down the road, he morphs into this great Hawkeye quarterback. So from that standpoint, if you lose a quarterback commit, not even a signee, not somebody that enters the transfer portal and goes somewhere else, from that standpoint, probably you don't worry about that a whole heck of a lot, because Iowa just hasn't of late had success with high school quarterbacks coming in and developing into stars with the Hawkeyes. So hopefully that changes. I still think there's a place for that in college football. I know I've been banging on the drum of use the portal. We're going to use the portal every year. I do still think there's a place for a high school quarterback signee that sticks around in the program and develops and, again, learns from Tim Lester over the course of a couple of seasons, and all of a sudden 2 years on campus, and then year 3 you take over and you've got, multiple years to be the starter, and you're a great quarterback. And part of the reason why is because you sat there and bided your time. You look at the Jay Higgins of the world defensively, and there's plenty of other examples. That's just the latest one on the opposite side of the football, right? I do think that success story under center, it still can happen and still will happen at some point. I don't know when for Iowa, but the idea that you have to be married to it, I guess that's my point more than anything, Chris, is you just don't have to be married to it anymore with the transfer portal. And when you're attaching dollar figures to players on your roster at the most important position on your roster, probably there is a heavy emphasis on making sure you bring a transfer portal quarterback in. So I don't know, but I think they're in a good spot with their young quarterbacks, and I'm excited to see what they do now that they have to pivot with the Cash Herrera decommitment. I would imagine they will wind up with a quarterback signee before this 26 cycle is over. The folks are in the house, and we love seeing all of you every Monday night right here, Iowa at the voice of college football, Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. I'm Josh Helmer with Hawkeyes Wire with USA Today Sports, HawkeyesWire.com. Check out my work and the team's work. Chris Meglio. Chris, tell the people where they can find you beyond just right here at Iowa at the voice of college football.
Usually I say the Daily Iowa. Now it's the Des Moines Register. Started writing for them last week, so It's nice to, be a part of USA Today now, which I'm right there with you now. I'm right in that, this elite publisher. So it's a blessing to be there. Daily Iowan, I'll be there in the fall, so you could expect some football coverage from me. I'll be going around to most of the games this year. There's a couple. I know I won't be going to USC, which I'm very bummed about, but I'll have my time to go to Cali when I'm a full-time reporter and traveling and all that. But yeah, Daily Iowan here, and now the Des Moines Register. You can find me on there. Exciting. Check out my work because I feel like I do quality work. I put a lot into all my work.
No doubt about it. And everybody should please follow us. I'm at Josh on Ref, at Hawkeyes Wire on X, formerly known as Twitter, to follow our written work. Facebook, give it a like over there as well. He is at Chris_Meglio. And everybody, please follow the voice of college football at VOCFB on Twitter, and just search Voice of College Football out there on Facebook as well. Let's get to some of the responses before we move on. Our man, Taylor Hink, Mr. T. Hink, in the house, as always. We love seeing you, T. Hink. Says, not worried about Cash decommitting. Logan says, congrats on the AAA job. Thank you, Logan. It's just 4 ball games that I'm helping somebody else get a little summer breather, but that'll be fun. I love broadcasting.
Still a big deal, though. Still a big deal. Don't discredit that. 4 games, a lot more than anybody else would do.
Well, hey, it'll be fun. Hopefully, hopefully we see something. What they say, you get to the baseball diamond and you'll see something you've never seen before every time you're at the ballpark. So hopefully we get, something we haven't seen before. T. Hink, get rid of commitments. They're dumb. A lot of people do feel that way. Kelvin says, hey, watch Mason Atkins, by the way, the name that he's referring to. Iowa will flip the Aurora, Illinois quarterback. He is currently, Mason Atkins, a Ball State commit. He actually just committed in the beginning of May. 72% completion percentage. Threw for about 1,700 yards, ran for a couple hundred more. 39 total touchdowns, no picks for Mason Atkins with West Aurora. So if that is the direction that Lester and Iowa heads, that would be not a bad direction at all. Heard that Cash wanted to play earlier in his career. Yeah. Chris, I just don't know that that's going to be the case at Iowa.
Yeah, which is probably why he, explored his options. That was one of the reasons that I said it, or that was one of the things I said that could be a reason. He just wants to, find a place he can go to so he could play right away. And looking at the timeline with Mark Gronowski and Hank Brown, is probably unlikely the first 2 years.
Brown is a redshirt sophomore, says Kelvin.
Thank you for the correction.
And let's see. Again, T. Hink in lockstep with, I think, us and certainly with me, right? Not worried about it. If they don't get a quarterback, just use that portal, baby. That's what it's there for. Come on. We got revenue share funds for that.
In the words of the great Josh Homer, just get the quarterbacks out the portal. Get the proven ones first.
Okay, so this was not on my bingo board, and probably it should have been. How much do you want to dive into this?
I saw a little bit on that. I just saw one little Twitter thread, but I didn't see anything. Did he snap on somebody? Yeah,
Conor McCaffrey tweeted and then deleted a tweet. Let me see if I can find it. If you could buy me a little time here.
You gotta find this one. I wonder what he said.
I got it here. I will you should buy me just one moment. I just want to be able to put it up on the screen for everyone. That way we can kind of look at it together instead of me.
Oh man.
Instead of me trying to describe what he said, just actually, sharing what was said would be would be good for the audience here.
Were there any inappropriate words being used in this Twitter?
I don't think so. Let me see here. I saved it to the wrong place. I saved it in a folder instead of my desktop, which made it challenging to retrieve here.
According to T. Hink, it was a great quote from Connor. So now I'm even more intrigued to see this. I did not, whatever it is, I'm not seeing it.
Here you go. This was the since deleted tweet from over the weekend.
Well, when I'm sure he's still a little. I'm sure he feels some type of way about his father being let go the way he was, which I didn't agree with the way he was let go either. So I understand where he's coming from. But go Hawks.
So here you go. This was the tweet since deleted from Conor McCaffrey. I don't know why people still yell "Go Hawks" when they see me. Like, no, go Dogs, go Quakers, go Fever. And I love that Tristan Spurlock jumped in here and let him know, hey, you did a lot in a Hawks jersey. They're just paying you your respect. But that made some Hawkeye fans feel some sort of way over the weekend. My take on it, Conor McCaffrey is, well, first off, I think he made a mistake by sending the tweet out. But I understand the frustration, which is a human frustration. It wasn't always rainbows and sunshine, the reaction to Conor McCaffrey's play at Iowa. And, of course, his dad was let go by the university. So it didn't have a picture-perfect ending for the McCaffrey family at Iowa. So I understand that, and that's a human response. I think to go to bat for your dad, right? Probably the deleting of the tweet indicates on second thought, maybe I shouldn't have sent that one out. And a cooler head oftentimes in life prevails once you get removed from a situation. Collectively, you did some nice things at the University of Iowa. It didn't end the way that anybody wanted it to end. And yet Iowa fans, they're just saying go Hawks to you because they appreciate what you did at the University of Iowa. Believe it or not, that social media minority out there is just that. It's a minority. Most Iowa Hawkeye fans are appreciative of what you and dad and your family did at the University of Iowa. So there's my abbreviated Cliff Notes take on Conor McCaffrey. I think it was a mistake. He shouldn't have put the tweet out. He should be appreciative of Iowa fans that are going out of their way. Now he's going to get Go Hawks, and it will be more of an antagonizing Go Hawks. It won't be the friendly, appreciative Go Hawks that maybe it was before, and he's kind of painted himself into that corner.
You are 100% right. I was just, when you were talking, I was just thinking about, man, when you do something like that, it's just going to provoke the people even more to do it to piss you off more, because they probably know that he can't really do anything about it besides yell at them or say a bad word. That's probably the most he could do unless he wants to put his job at risk, which I don't think he wants to. But as you said, sometimes you just got to be silent and let it roll by. Who's better at that than Caitlin Clark? Because with all her name being in everything and being talked about so much, doesn't say a word about anything with the exception of, very, very few things. But that's a big buildup. She's notorious for just ignoring all the stuff or acting like she's ignoring it and act like she doesn't see it. He got to take a lesson or two from her. But hey, the McCaffrey family is a legendary family and within the Hawkeye fan base. So we'll forever appreciate them. But it was just time for a new era.
And I would say too, don't let this be a grudge, Iowa fans. It's though this fight happens a lot in my history on radio, covering sports. I get it. Conor McCaffrey's not a kid, right? He's a young adult, but he's also a young person, and young people sometimes don't always have the coolest head in every situation. So hopefully he realizes probably shouldn't have done that. Ultimately, it was much more good than bad at Iowa. And my experiences, my father's experiences at the University of Iowa collectively have been a good thing for myself and for our family. And if he didn't feel that way in the moment, hopefully in time he feels that way. And to Iowa fans, I would just say, let bygones be bygones. It's not good for anybody to let this prolong and turn into a thing.
Yeah, let it tie the heels off. So, I'm sure Conor McCaffrey and the whole McCaffrey family, I'm sure their feelings are still pimped up for him. His father's exit, the way it happened, the way it all went down. But, I do think deep down they're all still appreciative of, at bottom of the heart, they're still appreciative of what they're able to do here and the memories they made and, everything else. And I don't think that grudge will last long in the McCaffrey family. And Hawkeye fans should not take that tweet any sort of way, because like I said, I saw that and I just laughed. I thought it was just funny.
On some level, it is funny, right? And on some level, he's he's got a right to feel how he feels, because he was not always. Look, some folks said some nasty things to him at times. That happens when you're an athlete. That happens when you're a coach. I wish that it didn't, but that's the reality of the world that we live in. I might get some nasty comments on this video when we're done for going to bat for Conor McCaffrey. You got to understand, when you accept this seat or that seat, it comes with a territory every now and again. But hey, that's probably enough on all of that. 5 bold predictions. I shared it in the chat. HawkeyesWire.com from my man, Mr. Riley Donald. And you tell me which of these you like, which you think are pretty likely, if any, Chris, are a little bit too bold for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'll just read them off, and you can jump in afterwards. So his 5 bold predictions plus a bonus bold prediction for the upcoming 2025 Iowa football season. A wide receiver surpasses 700 receiving yards. 3 or more defensive linemen register at least 5 sacks. Xavier Wampa reels in 4 or more interceptions. Oski. Mark Gronowski combines for at least 25 total touchdowns. Iowa averages over 30 points per game offensively. And how about a bonus prediction for you? Kamari Moulton and Jazz Patterson combined for 1,400 plus rushing yards. Anything jump out there in the way of bold predictions?
The more realistic one, it's not even just one, but it's a pair. Mark Gronowski, 25 touchdowns, and that's going to go along with Iowa averaging at over 30 points a game on offense. I think those two, considering we got 27 last year with the quarterback play we did, and now we got a deeper core of receivers and a much better quarterback, I just think it's just bound to happen. Mark Gronowski, I mean, between rushing and throwing, he's got to get at least 25 touchdowns, right? But the 30 points per game, I'm assuming, is going to come with that if he's able to get touchdowns consistently. I like the receiver one too. Well, T. Hank said that too. That's why I said it. He said I like the wide receiver bold prediction. I like it too, but as I just said, there's so many weapons. There's at least 5 or 6 guys who could legitimately play at receiver, and 2 guys at tight end that could really come in and also take care of the ball. I don't think there's one set guy that's really going to stick out besides Reese Vanderzee. I've been saying this at the beginning. I think he's going to be the one that sticks out, but I still think with him, he might be number 1 target, but I still think the ball's going to get spread around a lot. Excuse me. And I don't know about 700 yards. It is likely, but I'm going to go with the 25 touchdowns and 30 points a game. I'm going to say those two intertwine. I'm not going to pick one over the other.
Do you know the last season that a Hawkeye receiver eclipsed 700 receiving yards?
Oh, geez. Oh, man. I'm thinking far back. This has to be a while ago.
I'll to not make you guess a million different years. 2019.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like 14 pass.
Amir Smith-Marset, 722 receiving yards on 44 grabs. But and actually, Tyrone Tracy was right there at about running back. Almost had 600 that year. Brandon Smith, Nico had his best season as a Hawkeye. Ragaini that year, 439 receiving yards. Brandon Smith, they each had 439. So, when you've got Nate Stanley playing quarterback, that can lead to some better offensive numbers. But it's been, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 6 seasons since you've had somebody, a receiver, eclipse 700 receiving yards. So that does certainly qualify as a bold prediction. It feels like this would be the season it would happen, right? You've got Mark Gronowski, so you went and got the quarterback that, though it was with the Jackrabbits at South Dakota State, he's played a lot of college football. You've got more than one wide receiver that you need to worry about. You've got quite a bit of experience up front along the offensive line. So it feels like you should eclipse the 700 receiving yard mark this season.
Let me ask you this. Let me say this fact first and I'll ask you this. Tyrone Tracy was actually Sorry, I thought it way backwards. He was a receiver here. Then when he went to Blake at Purdue, he turned into running back. I was thinking about it the opposite way. But that's an interesting fact for whoever didn't know that. Tyron Tracy was a receiver at first, then he turned running back at Purdue, then he got drafted. But let me ask you this though: who do you think on offense, besides Mark Gronowski, he's probably the obvious answer? Who do you think is going to be the breakout player
On offense?
on offense, strictly offense?
Is it okay if I say Kamari Moulton?
Yeah.
I think that, to me, based on what we saw from open practice in the spring, Kamari Moulton to me seems like the clear number one running back based on what I watched. Now, could that change between then to the beginning of the season? And health, of course, that's the part that you just don't know how that's going to shake out. But to me, he looks like he's clearly an experienced running back for Iowa. He's been around the block. He looks like the most explosive. And I think he's going to have a great season. I think 1 year removed from the probably best season of a running back in Iowa history, I think you're going to look at the end of the season this year and say, you know what? We did not have this just drop off a cliff in our backfield. We still got really good production from Kamari Moulton as our lead running back, our breakout running back. And I think Jazz Patterson and even maybe Nathan McNeil could be pretty involved in the backfield. So I like that other bold prediction that Riley Donald had, which is I think he could be right on the money that Iowa has a couple of running backs that combine for 1,400 plus rushing yards.
It'll definitely be – I think Kamari will be the one, but I definitely think between him and Jazz, it'll be by committee. I don't see like a Caleb Johnson one full-time all throughout the season type situation unless Kamari Moulton is, that talented to where Jazz Patterson really has to take a seat back because Kamari is doing damage every single game. I'm gonna go with a surprise just because I remember one game this guy really stood out, but bearing injury because the tight end spot has been beat up the past couple of years and Ashton Ostrangas has some injuries. But Zach Ortworth, man, that man can catch the ball. He's had some excuse me, like granted, it wasn't by far like a huge highlight reel, but there was a couple of catches he made. I'm like, man, who is that? And I do my research. I'm like, this is the guy. And it just makes me think, okay, well, he could be one of them guys that turns out like a Sam Laporta or George Kittle, where he's just another high-end product of tight end university, just showing that potential young. That stood out to me. I've been saying Reese Vanderzee this whole time, so I'm trying to shy away from him. I think he's going to be an NFL receiver by the time he's done here at Iowa. But Zach Ortworth could be an NFL tight end by the time he's done here too. Addison Ostrenga is going to start. I know that. But I think if in the case where Ostrenga, who's one of the top tight ends in this country, if he goes down, I expect us to be fine at tight end because Zach Ortworth is going to come in and make the most of his opportunity. And he's going to be a pop-off player to where he'll be, if you're looking downfield, if Mark Gronowski is looking downfield, I expect him to hit that 6'3" target or at least look his way every single time. And having him and Reese Vanderzee, two tall targets like that, Twin Towers, for a quarterback like him, you expect them to be targeted.
Sam Phillips has, I think, a good chance to be a difference maker for Iowa too. He, Pro Football Focus ran down its highest graded returning wide receivers, and Sam Phillips, though he's coming from elsewhere, coming over from Chattanooga, he's one of the highest graded returning receivers in the Big Ten. So I think Sam Phillips has a chance to be a breakout guy. I actually think Seth Anderson among wide receivers has an opportunity to, he had 5 grabs last year for a little more than 100 yards. I think he'll do much better than that this season and could be substantially more than that if things shake out a certain way. And then, Bowie, Howard, those are a couple of names that certainly could be reasonable breakout candidates as well. You could probably just grab a dart and throw it at the wide receiver room and have a pretty good chance of one of those guys being a breakout player for the Hawkeyes.
Mm-hmm. I think of it as something like the Chiefs had a couple years ago. And I know comparing the Hawkeyes to the Chiefs is like, oh my God, here we go. But I only say that just because, yes, they have Travis Kelce, but it was almost wide receiver by committee. everyone's touching the ball. Like, there's not really one person that dominated the entire time, but it was everyone's touching the ball. Offense is spread out, and that's why the Chiefs won their second championship after Tyreek left, because they had that understanding that everyone's going to touch the ball. They have a lot of talented players, and everyone can make plays. And I think that Iowa will adopt that same mindset, at least on offense, when it comes to the receivers, where everyone's going to touch the ball. No one's going to get a 10 reception, 150-yard game, but I could see 3, 4, 5 guys getting at least 4 receptions for 60 yards. And I think that's really a difference maker. Think about it in basketball where, you don't have one player scoring 30, but you got 4 players scoring 15. I think that goes a much longer way than having one player dominate the entire time. And I think if Iowa adopts that mindset, if Kirk Ferentz and Tim Lester put that within their offense, it's going to make us unpredictable, and our offense is going to be very successful.
Hawkeye Howard in the house.
The man.
Late arrival, but wanted to make sure I said hello to you, Howard. We're happy to have you, Hawkeye Howard. How about a couple of these defensive bold predictions? Let's dive in before we get out of here on those. 3 or more defensive linemen register at least 5 sacks. I'm reading from my partner Riley Donald's work. 5 bold predictions for the 2025 Iowa football season, Hawkeyeswire.com. 3 or more defensive linemen register at least 5 sacks. He writes, last year, Iowa had 3 defensive linemen register at least 5 sacks. Ethan Herkett led the way with 6.5, was followed by Aaron Graves with 6, Max Llewellyn with 5.5. Look for Iowa to once again see that happen. What do you think? Does Iowa run that back?
Yes. I think I say that because, correct me if I'm wrong, all 3 of those guys came back. And Iowa, whether even if one of them is gone or all 3 of them for some reason are, out not playing, Iowa's defensive reputation, and we talked about it many times, their ability to develop guys, make sure they stay ready, come in and produce, I think it's just top tier. And I think that there are some players, probably backups, that can go to another college and produce the same way that Aaron Graves can, that Ethan Herkett can, and Max Llewellyn can, because Iowa's so deep and good at developing players. So whether it's those same 3 or it's somebody else that comes in and gets on that list, I think it's going to happen.
All back. All 3 of those guys, you're correct. They're all back. And, oh, by the way, you've got Joseph Anderson starting to get a little bit older. Kenneth Merriweather starting to get a little bit older. Brian Allen has been impressive at times, especially throughout off seasons. He's looked like somebody that's just waiting for that opportunity to really turn the corner. I think they'll have that trio eclipse 5 sacks again, and I think they might have a 4th that joins that number. So that's kind of exciting. Xavier Wampa, 4 or more interceptions. Bold prediction, Riley Donald, Hawkeyeswire.com. Is this in the tank for Xavier Wampa? We are waiting for Wampa to author that 5-star season that, hey, he's going to be a day 1, day 2 NFL draft guy type season. It hasn't happened start to finish. There's probably been flashes of brilliance. There's been moments of what the heck just happened, and I'm thinking about the Iowa State game last year, and I'm sure there's probably another instance that a fan could point to. But what do you think? Is the time now? Is it right for Xavier Wampa to turn the corner? I hope that's the case. Iowa needs leaders to emerge in its defensive backfield. We've talked a lot about at the corner position, TJ Hall, Deshaun Lee. You got Shaheed Barrows from South Dakota. You brought him in to add a little competition at corner. But, of course, for Wampa, he's at safety. And it seems like Iowa always has that 1-star member of its defensive backfield. Wampa would be the obvious choice back there for Iowa. Does it happen now in 2025? That's a big-time question, I think, for this season.
This is what I think. I think no matter where he's going to the league, whether it's a top round pick or a bottom back half draft pick, I think he's going to the league no matter what. Whether he gets 4 interceptions, I don't know if I'm ready to say yes. But that doesn't mean that he could have a very he can't have a very good season without interceptions, because I think his coverage defense could be – I think that'll take a leap. Coverage defense doesn't necessarily mean interceptions all the time, but just breaking up passes, keeping guys close. Like Cooper DeJean last year didn't get an interception until the Super Bowl, but he was one of the more effective corners in the entire league, but didn't get an interception until the Super Bowl. So you don't necessarily need to get interceptions to affect the game consistently. And I think that's what I expect out of Xavier is just now I hope he proves me wrong, but I say low interception, high impact on the game, and he's going to prove why he's one of the better backfield players in the entire college football landscape. But I could see him getting 4, but I could also see him getting just 2. Either way, I think he's going to take a big leap, knowing all these guys are gone, and he's got to be the guy that says, okay, well, I'm work as hard as I can, and I'm going to step up for my school, for Phil Parker, for everybody who's been expecting a lot out of me. This is my time to shine. This is my time. After a year like last year, kind of hurt my stock. This is my time to rebound and show why I deserve to make millions of dollars on the next level and show why I could produce on a championship team in the NFL. I think this is his year.
I hope so. And you're right in saying that it's a bold prediction that he's going to have 4 more interceptions. He could have a great season with 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, just a number of PBUs, right? Mm-hmm. Just not allowing Iowa's defensive backfield to be leaky, having a number of tackles, seeing Wampa get downhill and wrap guys up and pop the footballers. Give me some forced fumbles. I'm good with that, baby. I don't have to have interceptions or pick sixes for you to have had a big-time impact on this season. So we'll see what it looks like. He, of course, I think is a big-time key for the Hawkeyes. And let's see, you mentioned this, and I agree, probably the most important ones have always been and will continue to be Mark Gronowski. We're looking at 5 bold predictions for this upcoming season from my friend, Mr. Riley Donald. HawkeyesWire.com works with me. Mark Gronowski combines for at least 25 total touchdowns, and Iowa's offense averages over 30 points per game offensively. If Iowa averages over 30 points per game, Chris, they're going to the playoff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Baron. Well, knock on wood. Let's hope that happens, but I think it will. Man, we had a good season last year. There's probably Michigan State and UCLA. We should have won those, but those are games we gave away. The year before, we had a terrible offense. We went 10-2. Should have been 11-1. That Cooper DeJean game against Minnesota was a little bit BS, but that
a little bit.
Yeah,
a lot of
it. Yeah, let me not close that, man. That was
fair catch. How dare you?
That'll forever live by him, man. I'll always, man. The one football game I go to that year that happens.
They stripped us an all-time Iowa Hawkeyes highlight. Are you freaking kidding me?
It's still an all-time Iowa highlight. It's still an all-time highlight, regardless of the outcome of that. But point is, we've seen Iowa be good without a good offense. And mind you, our defense looks a lot different this year. We had a lot of NFL-bound guys on the team 2 years ago that carried us. This year, as of right now, there's not a ton of guys that there's not. No, let me not say that. There's not as many guys going into this year that you look at least right now, that will be in the NFL like we did 2 years ago with the 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. I could be wrong by the time end of the season. Maybe there is 5, 6 guys, but when our offense is much better, and you can expect our defense, because of the way we develop players and get them ready, to perform the same, and our offense is this much bigger, this much better, yes, we're going to get 30 touchdowns a game. I expect us to win at least 10 games. We can win 11, we can win 12. I do expect to make the playoffs. I will say that right now. With the much better offense, I expect to make the playoffs. I think our defense will carry us in some games, but I think there won't be as much pressure to do so much and hold the fort down so much, knowing that our offense has more potential than in the past since Nate Stanley left. So much potential to put points on the board now. And it doesn't have to be all defense. It could be both sides of the ball that wins you the game this time.
While it creates a little bit of wiggle room for you defensively, and maybe there's an argument to be made that it could let you get lax if your offense is good. I mean, I would think it lets you go attack. if you're the Hawkeye defense too. It gives you great confidence to go be aggressive and make a bunch of plays if you feel like you have an offense that can go put points on the board. We just haven't seen that in a while from the Hawkeyes on a consistent, game in, game out, drive in, drive out basis to where you feel like, hey, that's an offense that every single time can go drive and put points on the scoreboard. So you'd love to see what the complementary football could look like for Iowa under that scenario. We're over the limit here. We're over the clock, but before we get out of here, we'll be back with you, by the way, on Wednesday night for our call-in show. Hope all of you will rejoin us on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, where we will be welcoming one after another. Bring the parade on out, baby. Bring the cavalry. We want to talk to the Hawkeye fans on Wednesday night, 6 o'clock right here, Iowa at the Voice of College Football for our call-in show. But before that, Caitlin Clark has returned in the Fever, New York Liberty, unbeaten. No more. 32 points for Caitlin Clark, 9 assists, 8 boards. She had 7, a career high, 7 career high tying, 3-pointers made, 6 of which came in the first half. A dizzying stretch of 38 seconds of basketball where Caitlin Clark, in only the fashion that Caitlin Clark can provide, knocks down 3 logo trifectas. That was pretty fun over the weekend versus the Liberty.
If you watched that stretch, whether it was live or on Bleacher Report after the fact, you just watched one of the best heat checks in all of basketball history. Not just WNBA, but NBA, college basketball. That was one of the best heat checks you could have ever watched. All 3 of those threes are at least 5 feet beyond. She's logo. She's being contested. It was not wide open. Like that's incredible. You can't ever say that one player has hit 3 shots just like that, besides the likes of a Clay, Steph Curry, and there's one shout out to anyone who knows Kyle Korver. Kyle Korver stretch when he hit 4 threes, back to back to back to back. If you know what I'm talking about, you're a real fan. But yeah, man, if anyone's taking down a Liberty, the returning champs, undefeated, it's gonna come at the likes of the face of the next generation, who gave him a 35 piece, who gave him 7 threes, a career high in threes, and just showing. And just a nice reminder to everybody why the Fever are going to be contenders, why they're going to compete against the Liberty, why they're going to compete against Minnesota. Those are really the only 2 teams that you could say really stick out right now. Excuse me.
A franchise high 17 3-pointers made for the Fever. Obviously, nice little lion's share of that, the 7 3-pointers from Caitlin Clark. So the Hawkeye Tailgater was over the weekend, and probably need to touch on that on Wednesday night a little bit. Who was at the Hawkeye Tailgater? There were a bevy of offers handed out from Iowa football, which is, not surprising or unusual from an official visits weekend. The Hawkeye Tailgater has been the annual big visits weekend for Iowa football over the last however many years you want to go back. So we need to dissect that on Wednesday night a little bit before maybe we start taking some phone calls. Who was in town? We can share that with you, get you up to speed there. Tyler Barnes, a couple of weeks back when he had his Hawk Central podcast sit down with Chad Leistico, had talked about, hey, should we he was asked, and then he discussed, should we rethink the way we configure our recruiting calendar? And basically, long story short, Iowa made the decision that, even with this revenue share era and transfer portal world and things that have changed in college football, we're still late June is our big recruiting Hawkeye Tailgater weekend. And I don't know that Iowa needs to change its approach just because the landscape of college football has retooled a little bit, but we can debate and discuss on Wednesday night. Chris, one thing before we bid everybody adieu.
It is about time that the NBA brings back starting lineups in their intros. It's about time, and it's happening tonight. That's why I keep looking over, because I'm looking at my TV to see when that starts. It's about time. It just brings back a certain feel. He finally put the logos on the court, but if there's anything they need to do, bring back no matter what. I'm really passionate about this. I was about to curse, but thank God I didn't. if there's one thing that they have to do, bring back the big trophy in the center of the court, like it was in the Lakers in the Boston series in 2008, 2010. The big trophy right under their midcourt logo is the biggest indicator that the finals are here. You need to bring that back. But thank God that they're bringing the intros back and we could all watch it because it just brings a different feel.
Chris, if you're like myself or many others in, my age bracket and folks older than me, too, the old school Chicago Bulls intro, the player introductions,
96.
the Alan Parsons project. That's what I'm looking for, baby. Come on, give me more of that. This is ESPN has gotten a lot of things wrong. And on many an occasion, I've been critical of ESPN and the trust, the brain trust over there that be at ESPN. They got this one right. The fans spoke their mind. They said, come on, enough of Stephen A. Smith babbling with Kendrick Perkins and Bob Myers awkwardly sitting there. Yeah. Give us more of the environment, the ambiance of what's going on inside these arenas. And they listen. So I got to give them credit for that. They did listen. It's going to be fun tonight.
Yeah, that show was just not good, man. Like Stephen A., Kendrick, and Bob Myers do not have a connection at all, and it's just terrible to watch. Like that's actually awful to watch.
It is a little awkward.
Yeah, Richard Jefferson on the mic too is not too special. I just think overall it just needs to be switched. I think they're kind of going outside here.
Well, and don't even get me started about how they're going to butcher inside the NBA. It's just everybody mentally prepare. As soon as we all accept that they're going to butcher it, it'll be better. Hey, that's going to do it for us, though. Thanks for joining us. A lot of Cash Herrera discussion tonight. If you're late to the party here tonight on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live, you can go find this episode. It'll be right there, and you can check the archive of it and just rewind to the front and hear everything we had to say about Cash Herrera decommitting from Iowa today. The long story short, we're not panicked about it, what it means for the Iowa quarterback situation. But please like, subscribe, comment. What do you guys think about where this leaves Iowa's 2026 recruiting class? And until Wednesday night, everybody have a wonderful Monday night. Go Hawks. We'll see you then. So long, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in as always, guys. We always appreciate it.